Good morning. This is Judy from Artistic Artifacts, and we are in Alexandria, Virginia. And boy, I feel like I haven't talked with you guys in quite a while. um, we've been hopping here. So we've had inventory, we've had a cleanup, we've had a snowstorm. It's just been normal nuttiness, as you all know. And so we do have some things coming up. We have some classes. They're online. Please check the website under workshops. I'm going to do a Facebook Live next week talking about the Creative Summit and the benefits of coming and frequently asked questions. So we have lots of information and samples from the teachers. So that's coming next week. My friend Carl and I did a van load full of contributions to local cloth in Western North Carolina. You can Google local cloth. It's an organization that is putting together kind of like marketplaces for the people and the artists and their families and the teachers who have lost everything in the hurricanes, and there's no money transfer. They come and they get what they need. We were able to take sewing machines that had been traded in, a couple of Berninas in there. We filled this van full of fabric and threads and paint supplies. So if you're able, if you're close, please look them up. I think the next market is the 8th of February. We will not be able to make another run until March or April, probably, because I head back to India in February. But please keep in mind, I know we have both coastal catastrophes going on, but we still have a great, awesome community that donates lots of materials and quilts and things, and we just have to keep them coming. So that was a great success. I did tell you about the summit. I made notes so that I would keep myself on point, no pun intended. So to let you know these things and to try and keep my chatting short. So the most important thing that I have to tell you today is By Annie's local quilt shop contest starts today. And it's so exciting. It's really the most amazing gift that By Annie does for us as shop owners, because not only does she ask you to select your favorite quilt store, but she asks you why. And as a quilt store owner, we get to read those comments, and they're quite, it's quite an honor. It really is quite an honor to have people make those comments about how important Artistic Artifacts is to the community. And it's not just a local community. We are a global community. And it's wonderful to read those comments and to see what people have to say about us and how we impact them. And I want you to know that you impact us. Being a small business owner personally is a little tough at times, but I keep doing it because I have fabulous employees and I have fabulous customers. And because we all care and we reach out and we have that personable interaction, that just makes it all worth it. That makes the days when the phones blow up and the computers don't work and we can't print a receipt. Those days are outweighed significantly by the days that you tell us that you are part of our community and you're really glad to be part of it. So with that being said, there is a new category that By Annie's has started, and it's the Creative Hub, and it's about stores that have a community and encourage creativity. Well, we think she made this category for us. I'm sure there's lots of other stores that qualify for these, but we think this is the Artistic Artifacts Creative Hub Award. And we hope that you all agree with us and will vote. So please, local quilt store contest. You can go in, Google it. We have in the store QR codes. Chris has got it posted on Facebook, Instagram, probably even Pinterest if they let us, all over the place. So we need your vote because we believe that we provide this for the community, as well as you as the customers in the community provide it for us, for those of us that are working here and participating in Artistic Artifacts. So please do that. There was another thought. It just went in one ear and out the other. So last year, we were able to have 2 specialized videos about Artistic Artifacts. I mean, what ByAnnie does for the whole industry is quite amazing. What she does to support and encourage local quilt store owners who don't have a video, a way to make videos to professionally and scripting and all this stuff. She does all of that for us. So they're a very important company in this industry. So, and I always have to say this because we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We just strive to be the best that we can. If there is anything that you don't necessarily want to put in those comments, but you think I need to know, my email is judy@artisticartifacts.com, and I am always available. Okay, that being said, we are going to talk about walking feet today with Barbara and Catherine. And I kind of use the terminology as toolbox. There's certain things that you need to have in your toolbox. Walking foot is one of them. It is a necessary tool regardless of what model Bernina you have. It goes from using on a 3 series to the 990. A walking foot is essential tool in your box. So I'm going to let Barbara and Catherine tell you that and give you a little bit of insight into that really important tool in your toolbox. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to the Facebook Live at Artistic Artifacts. And thanks, Judy, for all of those good comments that you shared with everybody. And I am Barbara, and
I'm Catherine.
Getting her mic on from Judy to pass off of the mic here. And we're going to talk to you about the BERNINA Three-Sole Walking Foot today. It is the foot of the month for January. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the anatomy of the foot, and Catherine's going to show you some of the practical applications and discuss the difference between a walking foot and a dual feed foot. And like Judy said, this walking foot fits all the Bernina machines, the 3 series on up. So your machine may not be one that has a dual feed. So this might be even a little bit more important for you to have. But it works differently than the dual feed for those of you who do have the dual feed. And I'm going to let Catherine get into more of that information, the specifics about that. So, and I know we're here at the end of January, and this is the foot of the month. So we're pretty close to the end of the month. If you can't make it into the shop, just order it online and schedule it for a pickup, and then you could stop by whenever it's convenient for you. And if you're not local, you could, of course, still order it online, and there's no delivery charge on this foot. So that's a little extra plus on that. So just in general, what is a walking foot? It is an even feed foot designed to move multiple layers underneath the needle in tandem so that there's no shifting of these layers. So the foot grabs the top layers, and the feed dogs grab the bottom layers, and they feed it through at the same time. So I'm going to try to show you here on the foot. So we have, this is the fork that goes over your needle bar. I'll show you that in a minute. What I want you to notice here are these black rubber feet. These are the upper feed dogs, so to speak. They're a rubber foot. So when the needle is up, they're up, and when the needle the needle goes down, they come up. So when the needle comes up, that's when the feed dogs are feeding the fabric back behind it. And then when the needle goes down, it's taking its stitch. The needle comes up, and now all the layers are grasped, and it's pulling it through. And I hope that makes sense to you. That's what these 2 little black feed dogs do. They're a rubber version of the lower feed dogs. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit how the feed dog works. There are 3 different soles, as you can see here, the one that's on, and then these 2 other soles. So the one that's on is the open toe, often used for quilting, but it offers you more visibility in this area than the other feet do. This is the closed toe foot, so it doesn't offer you as much visibility, but it's good to use with some thicker, bulkier pile-like fabrics. And this is your stitch in the ditch foot. And Catherine's going to talk about how to use these different feet. So just some things that this foot is good for that will help you with. It's really good for quilting because it keeps all those layers, your sandwich and your backing, your topping, all together and moves it as one unit. It's great for top stitching and edge stitching. Stitch in the ditch, as I mentioned, with the specialty foot. It's particularly good with slippery fabrics like a rayon or a satin, sticky fabrics like a vinyl or a leather. It's great for matching plaids, stripes, directional fabrics, that sort of thing. Great for home deck projects because sometimes they could have multiple layers, and this easily plows through all of those layers and keeps them in line. And it's also really good for those high pile fabrics like velvet and toweling, cuddle, fur, fake fur, all that kind of stuff. And on these thicker fabrics, you probably want to reduce the pressure on your presser foot. Say that 3 times fast. Your Bernina machines come set with a default of 50. And to reduce that, you want to lower the number. And how much you reduce it will depend upon your project, the fabrics, how many layers you've got. So you need to play with it a little bit to figure out what the right pressure is. And also change your stitch length a little bit, especially on those bulky fabrics. Maybe bring it up to a 3.0. And again, play with it till you see the easiest way for the foot to feed it through with a consistent result. So now I'm going to turn it over to Catherine, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about the dual feed versus the walking foot.
So when I teach the Bernina Mastery classes, that's one of the most common questions I get is, if I have a dual feed on my machine, why should I buy a walking foot? And do I need it? And the answer is yes, you do need it because they have different functions. So first I wanted to show you the dual feed. If we look at the machine here, when we pull down the dual feed, you'll see that this dual feed is behind the needle. So as the fabric goes through, these feed dogs are pushing the fabric, and at the same rate, this dual feed foot is pulling the fabric. So it gives a nice even stitch that you can count on with your Bernina. This works great for 2 layers of fabric. Now, if you have something that is bulkier, then you need to have something that will handle that depth, and also if it's multi-layers, move all the layers at the same time. So like what Barbara said, is that walking foot grabs all layers as one unit, lifts up the unit to move it back after the stitch, and then comes back to re-grab another piece of that unit and lift it up. So you are getting this kind of a motion, and it's taking all the bulky fabric or the batting, etc., and moving them all through as one unit. So it really is an excellent tool, and I'll show you some examples later. So I use my dual feed all the time when I'm doing normal sewing, but I always switch to my walking foot if I'm doing these specialty fabrics or if I have more than 2 layers. So the answer is yes, you need both.
So I just wanted to interject here that the unit that you're seeing here today, this is the special edition red unit. It also comes in the traditional white unit, so whichever one you prefer. This is for new machines, and as Bernina qualifies new machines as anything with the red numbered presser feet. So you might think your machine is old because it's 20 years old, but Bernina doesn't think of that as old. It's still a current machine. So those machines go from 1996 forward. Things prior to 1996 had a different structure for the shank, so they had to change the shape of the shaft for the feet. So that's why there's different. And those machines are black numbers. When you're ordering this, or you come into the store and you're not sure which one you need, make sure you know your machine model number so we can look up and see which foot you need. Email us, call us if you're out of the area, and we can help you figure that out. Also, Bernina at one point in time made a walking foot with only 2 soles. It did not have the stitch in the ditch sole. So if you want to order that stitch in the ditch sole, because it is very valuable with this set, we can order that for you too. So just let us know if you need to order that. Okay, so a little bit about the anatomy of the walking foot. Like I said earlier, it's pretty bulky as the needle is going to fall right here. So all of this is behind. Now to install it on your machine, a couple of things. If I leave it on the white, you could probably see it better. This tuning fork looking apparatus that goes up and down with the needle goes over your needle screw bar. So the screw that you use to loosen and tighten your needle is on a little bar, and this U-shaped fork will fit over that bar. And then if you look on this side, there's an opening right here, and this is the cone where the cone fits in just like any other foot. But it's giving you a little opening because this is kind of a bulky foot. It's a little bit more challenging to get on. So when you put it on, after you have this on your needle bar, if you tilt it slightly, you can get it to go right through here and into the cone opening. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and hopefully Kyle will be able to get a good picture of what. So I start out with my thumb holding this fork up so that I can get it over the needle bar. And all right, and now I have to get my head in here, Kyle, to see. I'm going to get the cone through that little opening and then just anchor it down. I'm trying to keep my head out of the way. There we go. All right, so now it's in. So hopefully you were able to see enough of that. And make sure you have your needle up and your presser foot up, because that gives you a little extra height in there to work with. And if it's giving you a little challenge still, put your freehand system in and engage that, and that lifts the needle just a tiny, or the foot rather, just a tiny bit more. So it gives you that little extra space to get the foot all engaged. All right. So then for changing the soles, there is a screw. When you're looking at it on the right-hand side, this screw here, you're going to loosen that a fair amount. Do not remove this screw. What it is, these 2 little black arms, one on each side, that's what's holding the foot on the sole onto the foot. So I'm going to loosen this screw, and I need to loosen it several turns, and it will jiggle loose. Let's see if it's loose enough yet. No. So lefty-loosey, just always remember that. That helps. And of course, I'm being nervous and not getting it. There, I just felt it. Let's see if it's enough yet. Not quite yet. I'm almost there. All right. Pop out of that side. It's really, okay. So now on your foot, the right side has 1 hole and the left side has 2 holes. And these fit over little shafts or protrusions that are on these black feet. So to change it, you want me to put the stitch in the ditch foot on for you?
I'll show that. Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to put the stitch in the ditch foot on for Catherine. So I'm going to engage the protrusions. You can see here, these 2 little dots match up with these 2 dots here. Those protrusions just go right in that hole. And then I'm going to just start tightening, righty-tighty. Okay. And now your foot is all engaged on there. So that's how it takes a little bit of practice, but it's not difficult. It's just a little bit more involved than a normal foot to put on. So hopefully you will be able to practice it a couple of times, and then you'll be able to get it on just right. I have to check my notes here to make sure I've got everything. Okay, so now it's Catherine's turn, so I'm going to step aside and let her talk to you about how to use the various soles.
Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit more about this center guide, edge stitch foot, and then also the seam guides that come with this. So when I was first learning how to machine quilt, excuse me, I would take orphan blocks and leftover fabric and make a lot of placemats. And you can see on the back here better how I did the the stitching, and this was to anchor this at the beginning. And so I just ran the seam guide right here along the edge of the fabric, and the needle follows right behind it, and you get a very nice stitch in the ditch. Now, if you're worried about this, several quilters like to use the seam guide right on the seam, but they change their needle position a little bit to the right, perhaps 1 or 2 clicks, so that your stitching actually shows a little bit. And then that way it doesn't matter if your stitching jumped out of the ditch when you were trying to do stitch in the ditch. So if you offset it a little bit, you can, when you're beginning to sew, get a more perfect line. So in addition to the stitch in the ditch, with this same foot, you can also do edge stitching. And I have a commercial napkin here. We can make these. So what I wanted to show you was the, it's just folded over and pressed. And then you can see here it has a nice line of stitching to make the hem around it. So the way you can do that at home is very easy. You use your walking foot, you press the hem in place, you use the edge guide along the edge of this, and you offset your needle 1 or 2 clicks, and you will get a perfect hem just like commercial products. So that's called edge stitching, because you're stitching on the very edge of that fold. So this takes a lot of worry out of doing this, and it's a great way to make things for yourself. So that's details about the edge stitching. Then I wanted to talk to you also about these seam guides that the walking foot comes with. In your box, you'll find these extra pieces. And it's like, what are these? So what these are is a collar and 2 seam guides. And this is my walking foot from home. The collar slips on the back of the walking foot, just slips right like that, just places there. And then you'll see here that there are holes on both sides that you can stick these seam guides through. So you stick it all the way through, tighten up this screw back here, and you have a nice seam guide right here for evenly spaced stitches. So what I like to use this for is for my by Annie projects. This is the Project Bag 2.0. Nearly always the first step in a by Annie pattern is to quilt your own fabric. And so you can see on the back here better how all those quilting lines are evenly spaced. So what I would do is figure out where I want my needle, how far I want these lines to be, and then adjust this left or right to make this guide right along here. So I'll sew 1 line, and then the next one I put the guide right on the line, follow that line, and then I just keep moving over like this, and I get really nice evenly spaced lines all across the fabric sandwich. I like to do this kind of quilting too on the edges of quilts. It's just a nice calm border for the edge of quilts, and on small projects I use this a lot. So I wanted to tell you that we have these 2 Anna Maria Horner fabrics that would be excellent practice fabrics with or without your seam guide, but definitely with your walking foot. You could make beautiful placemats or a quilt back or anything you'd like out of these fabrics, and I just love these. So I'm sure I'll be making placemats out of these. And then I wanted to show you this picture. I saw this in a magazine several months ago, and probably a lot of you say this too. You look at something and you say, oh, I could make that. And so I wanted to do this. It's the perfect use for the walking foot. And I know that we have beautiful Indian block print fabric. And so I put a stack of fabric over here just to show you some of the some of the colors we have. And then for the binding, we have this beautiful Marcia Durst stripes, which I made into a binding here. And I chose this more neutral fabric for my placemat. Now, in order to do this, rather than use batting, I like to put flannel inside my placemats. So I have my top fabric, then I have 2 layers of flannel, and then I have my back fabric so that these will be reversible. So what I do is cut this and layer the fabrics. I use my Hera marker to make a nice line right down the center of the placemat. And I like to use this because it doesn't leave ink, any residue. And then what I did was I stitched down this center line first. And then, let's see, it would be this way. Then once I got that center line, I had my seam guide right here. And I just put the seam guide on the stitched line and went down and went marching right across the placemat. And I wanted to mention that with this walking foot, sometimes you've heard quilters tell you that if you're going to do a lot of straight lines like this, you need to alternate directions so that the fabric doesn't start skewing. Well, you don't need to do that with the walking foot. I can sew all the same direction with this walking foot. This is all flat on the front, and then you can see on the back it's also beautiful and all flat. So the walking foot for me is an invaluable tool because I like to do home deck things, the napkins, the placemats, but I'm also a quilter, and I love to use the walking foot with my machine quilting. So
one quick question.
Sure.
What is the benefit of using flannel?
Oh, good question. I forgot to mention that. Excuse me. I got to move my mic up. That's a very good question. I like the flannel because it gives a flatter placemat. It's not quite so bumpy. I've also had 1 or 2 disasters when I pre-washed my fabric, but I didn't pre-wash batting. And when I washed the placemats, they didn't come out looking very flat anymore. So with the flannel, you can pre-wash everything, all 4 layers, and then you are guaranteed to have a nice flat placemat even after it comes out of the washer and dryer. So thanks for asking. Anything else? Okay. In closing, we got this this great note from Judy that we forgot to mention. There's an additional 10% off sale fabrics today in shop and online only. So please come visit us, either virtually or in person. So, Barbara, did you have any other summary?
I think we're good. If we have no questions, I think we're good. Thank you. I think we're all okay. So no more questions. If you do think of any later on, please don't hesitate to call the store. We're open till 4 today. We could certainly help you. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you. See you another time.